A statement from the White House and First Family expressed deepest condolences to Queen Elizabeth, the entire royal family, and all the people of the United Kingdom. President Biden and First Lady Jill said the impact of the late Prince's decades of devoted public service is evident in the worthy causes he lifted up as patron, and that his legacy would live on not only through his family, but in all the charitable endeavours he shaped. Former President Barack Obama said that through his extraordinary example, Prince Philip proved that true partnership has room for both ambition and selflessness, all in the service of something greater. Former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said they mourned his passing and joined people from around the world in giving thanks for his remarkable life of service, adding they will always be deeply grateful for the kindness he showed them. Speaker of the House of Representatives Nancy Pelosi tweeted on behalf of the Congress, extending condolences over a life she said was distinguished by an inspiring ethic of dedicated service. The United Nations Secretary General also expressed sadness at the passing.
As royal consort, the Duke of Edinburgh capably supported the Queen in her duties as sovereign for over 60 years. He was known for his dedication to charitable causes, as a patron of some 800 organizations, in particular those focused on the environment, industry, sport, and education. The Secretary General pays tribute to the Duke of Edinburgh for his active work for the betterment of humankind.
In Canada, a country which accepts the British monarch as their own, this message from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau that Prince Philip would be remembered as a decorated naval officer, a dedicated philanthropist, and a constant in the life of Queen Elizabeth.
It is with deep sadness this morning that we all learned of the passing of His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh. Prince Philip was a man of service, motivated by a sense of duty to others. I know that through the Duke of Edinburgh's award, he helped empower millions of young people from all backgrounds, including here in Canada, to realize their greatest potential. And that's just one example of his many contributions.
Tributes also poured in from heads of state and government farther afield, including President Cyril Ramaphosa, who called Prince Philip a remarkable public figure who lived an extraordinary life and who would be fondly remembered by many people around the world. Sherwin Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.
Well, let's go to our New York correspondent, Sherwin Bryce-Pease, now. Sherwin, the history between the United Kingdom and America is centuries old. In fact, America got its independence from Britain 1776. So there's no doubt that there are many people, especially those with British origins, that are perhaps looking across the Atlantic with some sadness today.
Well, I'll also point out, Peter, that the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson was born here in New York, so that connection has been solidified, certainly by the incumbency of him being Prime Minister, and also the recent development that a senior royal a member of the royal family and his wife moving, of course, to the United States, further solidifying that relationship. Of course, you talk about the bonds, the transatlantic bonds that have been shared over generations, and that certainly holds true. These are countries that share various similarities in terms of their judiciary, in terms of their view of the world, and certainly one of the strongest relationships between London and Washington, but still very different countries here, Peter. The United States, of course, a republic. The British system is a constitutional monarchy. So very, very different systems. So often, Americans view the pageantry around, the palace politics and drama that unfolds with a very skeptical eye, and certainly with a lot of questions. But certainly the pageantry resonates. Princess Diana was very popular around the world, no less here in the United States. So certainly a relationship born in history and certainly sustained by the close relationships that we see today.
And the Queen's renown around the world also must be felt in the US. I mean, when people go on holiday, one of the things they do, of course, is Buckingham Palace. So they would have known Prince Philip.
Yes, I mean, he was married to her for 73 years, had a relationship longer than that. They were married in 1947, Peter. Queen Elizabeth's father, of course, became the surprise king, King George, of course, after the abdication of his brother, King Edward, ascending to the throne in 1936, and they got married in 1947, and within 5 years, King George passed away suddenly. So he married into this family, not expecting to be, the monarch's consort as quickly as it happened, and the longevity with which he was able to sustain that. We referred to a statement from former President Barack Obama in that piece preluding this conversation. Peter, I just want to read you a little bit more of what the former president wrote on his Facebook page a short time ago. He writes that at the Queen's side, or trailing the customary two-step behind, Prince Philip showed the world what it meant to be a supportive husband to a powerful woman. Yet he also found a way to lead without demanding the spotlight, serving in combat in World War II, commanding a frigate in the Royal Navy, and tirelessly touring the world to champion British industry and excellence. Through his extraordinary example, he proved that true partnership has room for both ambition and selflessness, all in service of something greater. Just a wonderful tribute from the former president. Of course, you'll remember during their presidency, President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama, of course, on a state visit to the United Kingdom, hosted at Buckingham Palace by Queen Elizabeth II and the late Prince Philip.
And having lived so long, they've met all of the presidents, and all these presidents, not just America, around the world. One of the things that they like to do if they travel to the United Kingdom is to meet the Queen and have an audience with her and Prince Philip.
And it didn't matter which president you were, Peter, right? I mean, the last president to be feted at Buckingham Palace for a state visit in an ill-fitted tuxedo was none other than former President Donald Trump. So, she would put her personal views aside. She was the British monarch, the head of state, and she had a duty to perform in terms of strengthening relations with countries that were viewed as strategic to the goals that London, certainly, that Downing Street wanted to achieve. And she played that role with aplomb and continues to do so. And he was a constant at her side. The unexpected consort 7 decades later, and retiring from public life in 2017, stepping away from official royal duties. But a constant feature, part of the landscape that is this royal family, and without the drama that perhaps surrounded some of their children. The relationship between Charles and Diana, and subsequently with his relationship with the current Duchess of Cornwall. The controversy around Prince Harry and Meghan leaving under such strange circumstances, controversial circumstances, moving to the United States. There was really not a lot of scandal that surrounded the consistency with which Queen Elizabeth II and the Duke of Edinburgh were able to portray the stealth of the royal family, aka the firm. I will just tell you, Peter, that there is a statement on the website, the Archwell Foundation website, which is the NGO website of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. And it says very briefly, a banner on the front page, in loving memory of His Royal Highness, the Duke of Edinburgh, 1921 to 2021. Thank you for your service. You will be greatly missed. So that is the sort of official, unofficial statement from the Sussexes from their home in California. And, of course, a lot of speculation as to whether they will travel to London for a future funeral. Of course, we don't know the details as to whether that will be an exclusively private affair. Given the COVID-19 pandemic, one expects it to be quite private, given the circumstances and the protocols around dealing with COVID-19. But we don't know yet whether he will travel, when he will do so. Given the fact that Meghan Markle is, of course, expecting their second child.
Apart from the official language of that statement, we can only imagine that Harry's probably heartbroken, because he was granddad after all.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, after the controversy of that Oprah Winfrey sit-down interview with them, there was, of course, a very brief statement from Buckingham Palace soon afterwards to say, you know, that they will continue, Harry will continue, and Meghan will continue to be members loved by the royal family. And you'll remember there was a brief interaction with the press with Prince William at an event soon after that interview where a reporter shouted to him whether he had spoken with Harry, and he turned to say not yet, but that he intended to do so. Harry, of course, in the Oprah Winfrey interview, talking about how he had not yet interacted with Prince Charles, the heir to the throne, since their move to Los Angeles. But one imagines that those conversations are now happening, given, you know, the statement that came out of Buckingham Palace that they were going to address this internally. So one expects that he will travel to London for the funeral, but those details, of course, not official yet.
All right. You know, people start talking about legacies and things like this. They talk about him contributing to the modernization of the monarchy. I've got a feeling, to be honest with you, that perhaps he was old school, just as the Queen, and they were sort of pulled in, screaming and dragging them into the modern age by people like Diana over time.
I mean, let me just read you a little bit more of the statement from former President Barack Obama, because I think it speaks precisely to what you're talking about. When we first met His Royal Highness Prince Philip and Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, they'd already been on the world stage. These are the Obamas writing now. They'd already been on the world stage for more than half a century, welcoming leaders like Churchill, Kennedy, Mandela, and Gorbachev. I mean, that's already spanning decades upon decades. And for much of that reign, you'll remember that former President Nelson Mandela was imprisoned in Robben Island for some 27 years. As two Americans unaccustomed to palaces and pomp, we didn't know what to expect. We shouldn't have worried, Obama writes. The Queen and Prince Philip immediately put us at ease with their grace and generosity, turning a ceremonial occasion into something far more natural, even more comfortable. Look, I mean, he's known for many things. I'm not quite sure to the extent to which he was a modernizer of the protocols that surround the royal household. But, you know, if you watch films or a series on Netflix like The Crown, one gets an insight into his interests in outer space and the work of NASA. So he was very progressive in that sense. But change within the dominions of the royal family, Peter, I think we can all agree, is very, very slow and you know, change is very slow in that family.
Yeah. Sherwin, we'll leave it there for the time being. Thanks so much indeed. Always good to hear your insights. Thanks so much.